this might be more of a question for Oilers fans, and I'm sure at least the realistic ones would probably say yes. But if you ever wondered what it would look like if a team played the type of team defense that the Oilers play against them, if Draisaitl, McDavid, and that Oilers offense got to play against the most sloppy, careless defense you can imagine, well, that's what it would look like. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome back to Kraken R&R, where, yes, obviously I'm not wearing the jersey, and if you watch the game, I think you'll understand why. The team, at least defensively, certainly does not show up. I mean, they played a fairly decent offensive game, and we can talk a little bit about that, but they still lose 9-4 to the Edmonton Oilers because of a complete lack of ability to play team defense, as sloppy and careless with the puck as the Oilers on the other side were. But unlike the Oilers, they don't have world-class offensive talent to take advantage of it. Well, the Oilers do, and they proved it. So yeah, the Kraken lose this one 9-4, and even though I'm not wearing the jersey, I don't expect this one to be a rant type of video. I know there's no jersey, and that often is the direction these go when I don't feel like I even want to put the jersey on. But, I mean, I certainly could get there when it gets to the special teams conversation, which we will have, and maybe it will, but at least right now, I just kind of feel more, I don't know, I don't want to say defeated, but I don't know, I guess in some ways I've just kind of gotten to the stage of acceptance with where this penalty kill is at, that this might just be the Kraken penalty kill for this season, and at least against teams as good as the Oilers, and boy, when the Kraken eventually face the Avalanche, a team like that, it might as well be a free goal anytime that they go on the kill. The Kraken go on the kill, it might as well be a free goal for their opponent, and that wasn't even the end of the special teams problem for the Kraken in this game, but overall, it was a complete nightmare for the Kraken in every possible defensive way. But we can get more into that here in just a second. First off, I'm just going to say right out of the gate, this is not going to be a typical R&R. I'm going to have a little bit of a different approach to this one. I'm not going to go the full play-by-play, the full breakdown recap of the game like I usually do with the screenshots of every goal and stuff like that. At least the big moment by big moment when there's this many goals, usually it kind of does turn into just the goals, but for a couple of reasons, that just doesn't feel like the route that I want to go with this one. For one, I don't think you want to, at least not the Kraken fans watching this, which I think will still be the majority, though I'm sure Oilers fans would love it. I don't think most of you watching this want it, and I certainly don't want to spend 20 minutes looking at pictures of the Oilers scoring goals. And for my sake, I certainly don't want to go back and look at the highlight package of this game and have to listen to what is still the worst goal horn in all of hockey. And I don't just mean the NHL. I'm not saying this is the worst goal horn in the NHL, though it is definitely that. I mean, this is the worst goal horn that Edmonton has in all of the hockey world. I mean, I'm talking all the way from the NHL level down to the Pee-wee level where some parent has brought an air horn to his 8-year-old's game. I don't know if that's actually happened somewhere, but I imagine someone at some point has brought an air horn to their kid's game, and that would still be a better goal horn than what Edmonton has, which is unfortunate because with the offensive talent that they have, you do get to hear it quite a bit, especially when the Kraken play as poorly defensively as they did in this one. And it doesn't help that Decor definitely was not on his game in this one. I don't know what the Kraken practiced over this longest break they're going to have until February. I think it's even longer than the Christmas break. They had 4 days off in between games, which might equal the Christmas break. I don't remember exactly how long the Christmas break is, but for a season that is as condensed as this one is, an abnormally long break here for the Kraken between the last game that they lost to Edmonton, getting shut out 4-0 at home, and then this game. So it's not even that they had all that time to practice. They even got to look at fresh tape of what went wrong playing against the Oilers and not do that, and then they just did it worse. I mean, at least they got some things going offensively. They did produce some chances, though I think some fair criticism back the other way would be that some of those chances were handed to them on a silver platter by the Oilers, who in the previous game in Seattle did play something that actually looked like team defense. They were actually somewhat competent in their own end of the ice. It was a little bit strange to see from the Oilers, at least this season's Oilers. Past season Oilers are still not necessarily in this era of Edmonton Oilers known for their team defense, but they've at least found it through bursts, bits and spurts here and there. They had that run a couple of years ago through January where they won the 13 games in a row or something crazy like that. And during that stretch, they were one of the best defensive teams in hockey. So it's happened here and there, but overall, this is not a team known for their team defense. And so far this season, they have been absolutely terrible playing back the other way. But when the Kraken play that style of game, well, as I said in the open, when you play sloppy, careless defensive hockey against a team with as much offensive talent as the Oilers have, world-class talent, the best player in the world, or maybe McKinnon has that for right now, but 2 of the 5 best players in the world, you can't play that sloppy. The Kraken do, and the Oilers show why it's not a good idea to match their defensive energy. Regardless, I think I got off on this tangent from what the Kraken were generating offensively. A lot of those chances the Kraken did come off of bad turnovers by Edmonton in their own end of the ice. 2 of the Kraken goals come off of bad turnovers by Edmonton in their end of the ice. One of the response goals for the Kraken, Jared McCann's goal in this game, is a turnover. Actually, they had a couple of turnovers. One the Kraken didn't do anything with, then they turn it over again at their own blue line. Beniers picks that one up, gets it up to Eberle for a redirect right in front of the net. The save was made there, but McCann put in the rebound shot, so that was McCann's goal. And then the Kraken, who put themselves in a 3-0 hole early, did actually manage to come back to make it 3-2 at the first intermission. And we'll talk about how that 3-0 hole happened, but part of that happening was the Kraken getting a power play goal right as the power play is coming to an end. It goes down technically as a power play goal, but the puck is crossing the line as the power play is coming to an end. Still, yeah, it's a power play goal. The guy's not out of the box, so effectively, I think you can call it as much. And then the second goal was, again, the Oilers just turning over the puck right in front of their own net and Freddie Gaudreau pouncing on it. And yeah, one-on-one with Oilers goaltending is going to lead to a goal fairly frequently. It does for Freddie Gaudreau there. The Kraken managed to get themselves back in the game going into the first intermission. Actually nearly tied it with another puck that got through Pickard. Just Beniers couldn't get to it before the Oilers did. So the Kraken, who went down 3-0 very quickly, nearly tied it going into the first intermission, which is kind of what made you feel like even as the Kraken continued to get down 2 or 3 goals that maybe they were going to find ways to come back in this game. They were getting those chances. Pickard did not look especially good. He had a couple good saves here and there, but he looked vulnerable. The Kraken just missing on some of those opportunities that a more talented offense, like let's say the Oilers, are not going to miss on. I mean, McDavid ends up with a hat trick for a reason. Draisaitl has a goal for a reason. Hyman has a goal. And you got McCann did have one, but he put another off a post. Missed another opportunity where the puck probably just bounced on him a little bit weird, but he could have had a hat trick. And he is a very talented goal scorer, but he's coming back from injury. So, I mean, maybe he's still not, a McDavid, Draisaitl, maybe even Hyman level goal scorer. So I'm not trying to put him on that level, but he has his opportunities, and there were more than that. The Kraken really could have put up, maybe not 9, but they could have put up 6 or 7 goals in this game with the opportunities that they had offensively. The problem, though, is on the defensive side of things, where the Kraken do get into that early hole. I mean, they went down 1-0 early on a goal that's just a perfect shot. I mean, the Kraken defensively are allowing way too much open ice in their own end and just kind of leaving everything up to the goaltending and Decord to start this game. Decord does not last the whole game, but he was out there to start. The Kraken are leaving pretty much everything to the goaltender if it wasn't just right in front of the net or in the high slot, and even then sometimes not always there. So this first shot is perfectly placed. The goal horn goes off, the Oilers do all their celebrating, but it turns out that it bounced off the top corner along the goal line, off the far post and out, so it never crosses the goal line. That one gets taken off the board, but within minutes the Oilers do end up scoring, which almost got challenged by the Kraken. They do take a timeout to review to see if they want a challenge for offside, and it was pretty close. Honestly, one of the replays down the blue line, I thought they would have had a good argument to get this overturned, but I can understand from a Kraken perspective why you don't necessarily want to do that at that point in the game. You already dodged a big bullet getting lucky with the one bounce, and then this happened, so maybe you're feeling like you might have to play from behind either way. And especially, honestly, I think probably the biggest part of what's going on here, why the Kraken don't go for it with challenging this. I think, it seemed like they were kind of 50-50 on whether or not you challenge. I think a big reason the Kraken didn't challenge it here is because they kind of felt that the penalty kill just wasn't going to give them a chance, that if they did challenge this and the call was a good goal on the ice, if there wasn't clear and obvious evidence that the play was offside, which it might have been hard for them to get all the way there, then the Kraken would lose the challenge, the goal would stand, and they would send the Oilers to a power play where they would inevitably score, and then it's 2-0 just like that. So they don't challenge it, it's 1-0 Oilers, and then 17 seconds later it's 2-0 anyway, because the Kraken defensively fold like a wet paper towel or something else that folds really quickly, and Yeah, it's just the Oilers walking it up to the net and scoring a second one quickly. So, maybe they should have taken the risk the way they were playing defensively in this game. There's really not too much of a chance for Decord on this one. Oh, I shouldn't say that. It does actually go off of Decord. This is one that it comes from a tight angle, hits him in the side, and just kind of leaks through his armpit and in. So this is one that it's still a bad defensive play from the Kraken. You should not be allowing a shot that close to the net that quickly off of a draw at center ice, but they do. Decord a pretty uncharacteristic goal allowed here. He also doesn't read the play particularly well. That's something that we know that Decord typically does very well, and this has been a not very good start to his season so far. But when he's on his game, and he's had stretches so far this season where he has been on it, we know that he reads plays especially well. Just doesn't read this one all that well. Still is able to get a piece of it, but enough of it that it kind of just ends up knocking it in. So the Oilers got that 2-0 lead, and then that's where the special teams problem starts. So really, in the end, the story of this game for the Kraken is the special teams, and the Oilers would make it 3-0 with a power play goal. But at least with the first period, it was a somewhat interesting period because the Kraken do get down early. It looks like it could get as ugly as it does end up getting, but it looks like it's going to get ugly with that 3-0 lead they get into after allowing the first power play goal. And then they come back, make it 3-2, nearly tie the game going into the first intermission. But yeah, that's where the second period and on is just the story of this game. While the Kraken still don't win it at 5-on-5, the special teams is just absolutely horrendous right now for the Kraken. They get a couple power play chances. They do get the one power play goal, but on their second power play chance, their first one in the second period, they allow a shorthanded goal right back the other way off the faceoff. It's probably a play that the Oilers had ready to go, that if they win the faceoff, they're just going to release Savoy, and they probably saw something in how the Kraken set up for the power play, that if they could win a faceoff and set him loose, then he could probably get behind everybody. He does. It was his second breakaway already of the game. This one, while Decord made a breakaway save on Savoy at the end of the first period, this one he's able to score. You give him two breakaways that quick in succession. Well, he saw what Decord wanted to do on the first one. He kind of forces Decord to make a move, gets him down, and then just chips it over the pad into the net. So the Kraken power play does get the one goal, but then they give it right back the next period. Later on in this power play, they would get 37 seconds of 5-on-3, which they don't take advantage of. And then the Oilers on the power play in this game, they get 5 chances on the power play, and they end up going 4 for 5 on the power play. So for the Kraken, who go 1 for 3 on the power play in this game, that means between these last two games the Kraken played against the Oilers, the Kraken had 9 chances on the power play, score once. Meanwhile, the Oilers had 7 chances on the power play and scored 6 times. Which, by the way, the only one of those power plays the Kraken did actually kill off was after they came 1 second away from killing off nearly 2 minutes of 5-on-3. So I guess that in its own right was somewhat impressive. The Kraken nearly killed off 2 minutes of 5-on-3 against the Oilers. Though, with that having been said, that 2 minutes of 5-on-3 or almost 2 minutes of 5-on-3 for the Oilers does come at what at that point is already garbage time. It was already 7-3 in the third period by the time the Oilers get that power play opportunity, or those overlapping power plays. And I don't think they even sent out McDavid or Draisaitl at all for this 5-on-3, so that's certainly part of why they don't end up scoring until the last second of it. But that only left 11 seconds on the next power play, so the Kraken, only really by a technicality, kill off one of the power plays. In fact, the power play goal that they allow in the first period comes, or maybe the first power play goal they allow in the second period comes on the tail end of some 4-on-4. The Oilers had a minute of overlapping power play after 4-on-4. The Kraken, who had the 5-on-3, when they don't score on the 5-on-3, it's another shorthanded chance they allow the other way as the 5-on-3 comes to an end, that Montour has to, or I think Tolvanen actually has to hook. No, Montour slash. That's what it was. Montour slash goes to the box, goes to 4-on-4. The Oilers then get a minute of power play, and in that minute of power play, they quickly get it down into the offensive end. They don't even start with it in the offensive end. They get it into the offensive end and just walk it up to the net and score again. The Kraken penalty kill was entirely irrelevant in this game. They might as well have not even been out there for all the good that they did. A couple of these power play goals for the Oilers happened within seconds of the power play starting, which in general for the Kraken, I would say that at least to start power plays, they've been pretty good at winning faceoffs to start power plays this season. I think that was a decent part of the reason why the power play got off to a good start to this season. But at least in this game anyway, I'm sure they won one somewhere along the line, but I don't know if they won more than one face-off to start a power play at either end, whether the Kraken were on the power play, the Oilers were on the power play. The Oilers, whenever it was a big, important face-off, they won it. By the end of the game, the Kraken win 46% of the face-offs to 54-1 for the Oilers. But again, as far as the important ones, the start of any type of special teams, that type of face-off, it felt like that was 90-10 Oilers. So that's a big part of it as well. The Oilers starting with the puck on the power play every single time they get a chance and getting a clear or a breakaway chance shorthanded every time the Kraken start a power play. So anyway, through all of that, at the end of the day, the Oilers score 5 special teams goals, the 4 power play ones, the shorthanded one. The Kraken do get the 1 power play goal. At 5-on-5 then, it's 4-3 still Oilers, but the Kraken 5-on-5 got the chances they needed to offensively, still defensively were a complete mess. I said fully like a wet paper towel. I thought of a better one because the Kraken were constantly folding defensively over and over and over again like they were origami. There we go. Nailed that one. Yeah, just a defensive effort to forget for sure. For a team that came into this game ranked 6th in team defense, 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere in there, depending on what metric you want to look at. This is a Kraken team that has started the season as one of the best defensive teams in the NHL, but in this game, you could have been confused for them, again, being an Edmonton Oilers defense if it wasn't for the fact that they were playing against the Oilers. They were that bad defensively, constantly allowing odd man chances, breakaway after breakaway. The Oilers had 4 or 5 breakaways in this game. They score on just about all of them. In fact, I think Decord's save on Savoy towards the end of the first period is the only breakaway the Oilers don't score on via either the breakaway itself or the power play that ensues from a Kraken player trying to catch up to them and commits a penalty to stop it, like a hook or a slash. Montour had the slash that I talked about on a shorthanded chance, and then Tolvanen has a hook later on another shorthanded chance for the Oilers. So, yeah, the Kraken handing the Oilers plenty of grade A scoring chances, and the Oilers are not a team that is they're not going to lose a lot of games when they get that many chances, even with the way that they play defense and even with the goaltending that they have. And that is, yep, it doesn't feel like a lesson that the Kraken should have had to learn, since they have learned it pretty continuously over the course of their existence, but they learn it again in this game, that's for sure. So then what's the answer going forward from here for the Kraken? Well, part of the reason that I want to take a little bit of a different approach to this one, and old habits die hard, I still went a little bit play by there for a little bit, or moment by moment, but this did really feel like these 2 games against the Oilers, a turning point in the Kraken season. They came into it top 3 in the division, the Oilers struggling. This was definitely an opportunity for the Kraken to put the Oilers not out of the season. They're still a good team. They're still going to go on a run probably at some point, so they're probably going to find a way to fight back from it, but really put the Oilers in quite a bit of a hole, and for the Kraken, cement themselves in a spot there in that top 3 in the division, top 2 in the division, even, especially with, and this is why it's still not necessarily over for the Kraken, if they can bounce back 180 degrees from this game, then that they're still in the mix with the games they have in hand, because they haven't played as much as the rest of the teams in the division. But between those games in hand and the teams towards the top of this division also starting to falter a little bit, the Ducks have started to lose a little bit more consistently. The Golden Knights still aren't really playing like we're used to the Golden Knights playing. The Kings are still kind of hit and miss night to night. The Oilers, aside from playing against the Kraken, have not been amazing either. So yeah, it's still there for the Kraken, but yeah, again, this really did just feel like a turning point in the season for the Kraken, regardless of which way it went. If the Kraken win both of these games, heck, even if the Kraken just win one of the 2 games, at that point, maybe you're like, all right, you're kind of just treading water. But if the Kraken were to win both of these 2 games against the Oilers, then you feel like that is making a statement that this team that the Kraken have struggled historically against, they've now handily beaten. They came in starting this season off to the best start in franchise history through X number of games, and then they take care of 2 games against a struggling Oilers team, which then puts them in a very good spot to take that into the rest of the season and hold one of those top spots in the division, especially with the struggles we've talked about the other teams have kind of started to go through. Or you could have what just happened in the Kraken just completely rolling over dead in front of the Oilers, who run over them twice in a row in different ways, but it definitely easily handle the Kraken in back-to-back games, at least for the Kraken anyway. The Oilers had the one in between games. But yeah, it's now not only for the Kraken, does it really put into doubt how much of that good start to the season the Kraken had was just they got kind of some fortunate bounces, managed to get a couple of games to overtime, that they had those fun late comebacks to squeak out points here and there. And if they just, some lucky bounces here and there and some fortunate chances got them to, with a bit of an easier schedule as well, get off to this good start. And if it was all just kind of smoke and mirrors, and now that the schedule starts to get a little bit harder, they start playing teams like the Oilers, they'll have the Avalanche for the first time in the season here in a little bit. If this is all just going to come crumbling down and this season is doomed. Meanwhile, with those questions now for the Kraken, for the Oilers, these are two games that could very well start to turn their season around. So for the Kraken, not only are you looking at a situation where they're starting to fall down the standings, but they are helping the Oilers get things turned around to move up the standings and past them. Now, obviously, with all that having been said, there's still plenty of season left. Still, at least 2/3 of the NHL season is still out in front of the Kraken, who, again, do have a few more games than most of the rest of the teams. But we've seen it before. We saw it just last year with the Kraken, who were off to an okay start to the season into the late part of November, and then they had that stretch against the 2 games against the Ducks, 2 games against the Sharks, back when both of those teams were complete and total bottom feeders, that if those should be 8 points in the standings, take care of it, no problem. Instead, the Kraken, I think, lost both, or maybe they've won the first game against the Ducks. They definitely lost the second game to the Ducks and then lost back-to-back to the Sharks. And that was the turning point in that season, and we know where things went from there. This one is less clear and obvious. The Oilers are not a bottom-feeding team, even if they're not off to a good start to the season. They're still a very good team, but this was that chance to really put your stamp on the good start to a season that you had. Instead, the Kraken, all they did was make you question the foundations of what they've got going to this point. Certainly the penalty kill is the biggest question. I think by the end of tonight, the stats haven't fully updated, but I'm pretty sure that they will surpass the Ottawa Senators for the worst penalty kill in the NHL, which it feels like they've wanted all season long the way that they've been playing. It's just very uncharacteristic for the Kraken. They've had at least a league average penalty kill for most of their existence. It's been the power play that's really struggled. And while the power play has cooled off a little bit, it's still a just below league average power play. But when you combine the two, the special teams are a abject liability for this team, and they are losing them games, losing them points in the standings. If the Kraken do start to get things turned back around and at least tread water the rest of the way, and they end up missing the playoffs by, heck, even if they miss the playoffs by less than 10 points, anywhere I'd say less than 10 points, unless things really turn around for the special teams, I think you can say that the special teams single-handedly cost the Kraken a chance at the postseason. How the rest of the season plays out, we'll have to wait and see. As for this one, I think that's enough rambling. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. Obviously, no 3 stars. No one really played all that well in this game. If you want to really have some goat in a bad way, like the pairing of Alexiak and Riker Evans got absolutely caved in this game. They were terrible. Aside from that, Decord didn't have a great night. He let in 2 that the last one that he let against McDavid, I forgot about that one. The last goal he lets in, the 5th one he allows in, is just, I don't know why he's not respecting the shot there. It's Connor McDavid, literally the best player in the world, unless, again, Nathan McKinnon, I think you could make the argument right now might be that. But regardless, a guy that has been the best player in the world for most of his career, and Decord never even puts the pads to the ice. And McDavid just stares him down long enough, kind of in disbelief that he's not going to the butterfly, and just boop, right under the pads and into the net. One of the easier goals McDavid is going to score. So it wasn't Decord's night. 3 of the 5 goals I'm not going to put on him. 2 of them, they're a little bit tough. And then Grubauer, he was getting hung out to dry like it was the inaugural season all over again. Decord was too, but yeah, we saw just kind of the classic Grubauer against breakaways, which never goes well. And well, that's how we end up 9-4. So until next time, let me know what you think. hopefully better against the Red Wings. The Kraken come home for 3 games, and until then, stay safe, be good to each other, God bless, and go Kraken. We'll see.